dunes. And that was followed by estuaries, and then by the rocky intertidal habitat. And so the first thing I notice about those three being the most vulnerable is that they're all coastal habitats that exist at the interface of land and sea. And so it seems to me, just from this preliminary look, that they're maybe being hit with more climate impacts than some of the other habitats. I'm going to take a second for you to kind of look at this before I start talking, since there's a lot of information here. And so these are all of our species. And I do want to point out we have two kind of lumped groups, and this is just because there's a lot of overlap in that these groups had very similar scores. There were, of course, some subtle differences that we'll be looking at further as we move forward in the planning process. But we have a group of invertebrates that are lumped. You can see the composition of that grouping in the lower left corner, and then a group of bird species that were lumped, and you can see those species in the upper right corner. Again, the distribution here is pretty variable for adaptive capacity. Sensitivity exposure, everything was pretty much 2.5 or higher. And then what I thought was interesting was to call out, because we have about 30 species here, to call out the top third. So these are the 10 most vulnerable species according to the raw scores, the raw data. And what's interesting is, with the exception of the pteropod and the ashy storm petrel, all these species utilize our coastal habitats. And so it's kind of interesting to see that the habitat vulnerability